Welcome back to the Corner Pocket, the best handicapping breakdown videos in the game. I'm Auzzy Scooper. Next up is the Saturday night contest between the Detroit Lions and Seattle Seahawks. Here are a couple things we're going to touch on. The health. Both teams have multiple guys that aren't at 100% or out. Have some playoff success for Seattle over the years. Also, the weather could play a role. Game within the games, different matchups. The cover 3 scheme for Seattle against this Detroit team that lacks a running game. And then the learning lesson for Seattle last season. First up, this success for Seattle at home. You know, it gets really loud, the 12th man. Not so many crowds get a nickname named after him. Last 5 times at home, 31-17 over Carolina. Twice they beat New Orleans. Once with the earthquake Marshawn Lynch run, San Fran 23-17. And then the Green Bay NFC Championship 28-22. So this team, in their last 5 contests at home in the playoffs, 5-0. Couple games where they didn't cover, but they do take care of business. This Detroit team, 27th in advanced metrics, not quite the stellar competition they'd seen over the years in some of these games. But to touch on a little bit of health here, Matt Stafford's got this finger issue. You know, some people have made it to be not a big deal. Some make it more of a bigger deal than it is. I'm kind of impartial, but it's more so about who he's playing against. Here he's playing against a cover 3 scheme that really can take advantage of you if you're a one-dimensional team like Detroit is. Stafford, before the finger injury, 67.2% completion percentage, 21-5 touchdown interception ratio. Team was 8-4, included a lot of late comeback victories this season. Matt Stafford set an NFL record with 8 fourth-quarter comebacks. In the history of the NFL, there's only been 3 quarterbacks that have ever notched at least 7, just to give you an idea of how crazy of a year it has been for Detroit. Since the finger injury, 60.2% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The team was 1-3. I don't put it as much on the finger as I do as about the absence of Theo Riddick, the dynamic running back from Notre Dame. Really opens up the offense. Real hard for linebackers to guard in coverage. Kind of a scat guy that can create something out of nothing. And since he hasn't been on this offense, it's looked like a different unit. They've had some struggling times. Zach Zenner, white boy playing running back, has done some good things. But with this lack of running offensive line and Stafford's finger kind of limiting him on some throws, it's just tough for them to really move the ball, putting them in a lot of 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s because of this lack of a running game. And it's hard to convert those. Now, Russ Wilson, this man, you got to feel bad for him to an extent. Seattle easily has the worst offensive line in football. They spend by a wide margin the lowest cap hit on their offensive line. They spend no money on it, and they just ask Russ to bail them out. And he has done that over the years, you know, consistently making the playoffs. And here he's going to be in a situation against a Detroit team where it's a dream matchup for him. Without having a running game, you must be able to throw the ball. Detroit, 32nd in the league against the pass. If you can't block teams, you don't want the other team to be able to rush the passer. Detroit, 30th pass rush grade according to Pro Football Focus. You combine those two things, Seattle could have a little bit of a slow start in the first couple of drives, but once they settle in and Russ starts to take control of the offense, exploiting the 29th in the league defense against tight ends with Jimmy Graham. Tyler Lockett was a big loss for that offense. Now in comes Paul Richardson. He was a 2nd-round pick, so not some scrub. Still have Jermaine Kearse and Doug Baldwin, so it's not like they will lack weapons. Russell will be moving around, making plays, doing what he needs to do to keep the Seattle offense on the field, moving the chains. So in this game, expect both teams to be throwing the ball a lot, not much running. And let's see who can convert those 3rd and 7s. My money's on Russ. Now, as far as the learning lesson, last year in the playoffs, Seattle got the boot after a 31-0 deficit in the 2nd quarter to Carolina. They responded with a 24-0 run, got back in the game. Russell Wilson doesn't go down very quietly. Got him back in the game, but that rough start was just too much to overcome. Now he gets another opportunity this year, going against a team on a short week, coming after that primetime loss. You know, Detroit coming in with no momentum, lost their last 3 games of the season when they had a chance to wrap up the division and get a home field in the playoff game. Instead, they got to go to Seattle. It's going to be in the 30 degrees. Only cold weather game Detroit's played all season at the New York Giants. They lose 17-6. There were some drop balls in that game. If you have a bad finger, I think the last thing you want to do is be throwing the ball in the cold, especially when, like I said, you're going to be in a lot of those 3rd and longs. And when it gets loud and it's 3rd and long and Michael Bennett's pinning his ears back, you know, a strip sack, and you're playing from behind, and every play is a throw, and they're in that cover 3, and they're kind of just baiting you to make decisions. It's not a fun life here for Matt Stafford. I do expect him to show some fight here in the second half. 14-3, 17-3 type of game at halftime, Seattle. Maybe Stafford shows a little bit of fight in the second half, but too much. 31-17, Seattle prevails. Scooper Duke, just doing what I do.